All right, my dear fellow listeners and viewers, good evening once again, and welcome to another edition of the Dr. Narine Dat Show. For those of you who have been watching us will know that the Dr. Narine Dat Show is a safe space for positive energy only. So if you're looking for some positive talks, this is the show for you. It is very different than what we've done in the past, as we mentioned, very different than the Let's Chit Chat with Narine Dat. And when it comes to our guests, we are very selective in making our selection because we have learned our lesson from the past as well too. So very, very different. So my dear fellow listeners and viewers, do know that there are a few different ways to listen to us. You can listen to us on the regular dial, that's the radio, 102.7 KMS FM. You can also listen to us on Rogers digital cable for those of you who have the Rogers digital box on channel 946. And of course, we're also live stream on our show here, so we encourage you to share our page. Tonight, our guest is no stranger to many of you. He's no other than Ken Rampersaud. So Ken, welcome to the show. How are you doing today, sir?
Well, Narine Dat, a very good afternoon to you, and thank you very much for having me on tonight. I am doing well. I just came home from work, and I'm good. So thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you for taking the time to join us here. We very much appreciate it. So we are going to take full opportunity to kind of, get to know you and all of that. I know you do your own show and all of that, but it's going to be a little bit different here because we'll take the time, because you usually take the time to get to know people and hammer out things that's happening and so forth. But today we want to pause a little bit so that folks can get to know you, and then we'll kind of dive into other pieces as well too. So let's get right into it. So Ken, take the time. You're the only one here. Introduce yourself to us, let people know a little bit about you in terms of your background, where you were born, maybe the school you attended and so forth. And then we're going to take it from there. So take it away.
Well, Narine, I am Kenneth Rampersaud. I am from Lenora on the west coast of the Demerara in Guyana. I attended the Lenora Primary School, and then after that, I went to the Lenora Secondary School. And during Lenora Secondary School days, I attended the Red Cross back in Guyana, the West Demerara branch. There also, I was a section leader, whereas I used to teach Red Cross back in the days. And then I get through to do nursing. And after I did nursing, I had to close down the Red Cross because I really couldn't manage both of them. But it is something that I really wanted to do back again. But, I'm a little older now, so it's a little tough for me to be back and forth in Ghana. Yes, so, school days was good. One of the best days for me. But nursing school days were one of the better days because there I excel a little bit more. And it was good days for me. And I migrated to the United States in January of 1990 at age 25.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Long time.
That's right. And I'm now 60.
I didn't realize. I know you came to the States a long time, but I wasn't sure how long, kind of thing. So thank you for sharing that. So, you spent a good chunk of time. I know I'm 25 years old, and by the looks of it, you obviously, based on what you said, you spend most of your life in the United States. But growing up there, what was life like for you? Because obviously it is different now than it was, 30, 40 years ago. What was it like for you in terms of how you interact in the community? Walk me through, if there, any sort of challenges or any sort of stuff that stood out for you as your earlier days. For example, as a little boy, I'm pretty much sure many people can relate. We were playing things like cricket and so forth on the streets and those stuff.
Yes.
Anything stood out for you?
So when I was going to high school, actually from primary school, I remember when I started to run, I was always getting first at the races. I was a short, chunky boy, you know what I mean? But I still managed to run back in the days. And I was actually a champion boy for like 3-4 years. And I went to trials for the nationals in Ghana. So running has really been well for me. But, growing up, actually, education was one of my challenges growing up back in Ghana. But, I never give up in education. I always feel that I wanted to be somebody in this life. And I push real hard. And thank God that a day like today, I can say, I'm a successful man. You know what I mean? But I grew up in a home where my mother was a very strict woman, and I grew up properly, if you know what I mean. I was not the kind of guy who would get away here, there, and everywhere. Everything wrong we do, we get lashes from mommy. But daddy, he was the one who was kind of more lenient with our my siblings and so on. But he did give me a little hard time growing up in life. But you know what? I use all the challenges that happened to me to for a brighter future, if you know what I mean. And in life, we all experience a little challenges in life.
Absolutely. We all do. We all do. Everybody will go through some sort of challenges in their life, regardless of how successful they are, right? Regardless of how much money they have, regardless of their wealth, people do go through challenges, and challenges look differently for different people. One of the challenges can be having lots of money too,
I know, all right? Right, yeah.
I don't have those kinds of
No, I
challenges.
don't have that kind of challenges.
So I'm okay. So
Yeah.
Ken, a big portion of your career is nursing in that
Right.
field. But
Yes.
before we get into that, I have a few questions along that line. Before we get into that, I mean, we all have done jobs, right? Because you have to start somewhere. That's just a natural, normal thing. When you're a teenager, you may have a student job, all of those types of things.
Right.
Prior to you get into a professional job, professional role, what are some of the jobs that you've done here and there over the years?
Well, that's a great question you asked me there. And it's kind of interesting because after high school, um, I went a couple of times to help my aunt at the farm. But, luckily that I was the guy who, despite my failures in high school, I was the guy who actually get to do what I wanted to do at the beginning, earlier in my years as a nurse. I started actually my real job as a nurse. I wanted to be a police officer too, but they turned me down 3 times because they said I'm too short to be a police officer. But through determination, I was able to go and sit the scholastic test. And after I did that test, I passed and I was able to enter nursing school. So I didn't get to do, I had wanted to be a first aider at the estate, because we live at where you have the Lenore Sugar Estate. And I had all the qualifications to become a first aider. But unfortunately, back in the days, you had to know somebody to really get in there and somebody who really could pull you in, So, and it's a hard job to get into because when you get in there, you don't leave till probably 40, 50 years. Yeah. So, yes, nursing was my first job that I entered professionally. And that's the first job I did.
Oh, wow. Well, thanks for sharing that with us.
Yes.
Let's focus on all the positive pieces first, but just like anything else, every job, there are challenges, right? There's no question about that.
Yes.
What would you say are some of the things that you've enjoyed through your journey in this particular profession? What drives you to wake up in the morning?
I like that. Narine, that's a great question. And I am been very blessed that, helping humanity is one of the best things that anyone could choose to do. And I am so glad that God has chosen me to do this because I am full of love. I'm full of empathy. And it gives me the drive when you can help someone every day to make a difference in their lives, to ease someone's pain, to stop someone from short of breath, and to give someone a second chance in life. It has been really a rewarding career. And every day, like I was telling one of my friends, that every day that I wake up, I still have the knock and the challenge to go to work every day, to make a difference in the world that we live in.
Yeah, it takes, that's a unique role you're doing.
Yes.
And you really have to have the passion for it, right?
Right.
I'm pretty sure you've seen, all kind of different things throughout your journey, kind of thing. So, which is good, because it is needed. It is a much needed role. That's for sure. So by the looks of it, if I'm hearing you correctly, it looks like you're still enjoying that role.
Oh, yes. And I have about 2 years more to go, about a couple of years more to go, probably 2 or 3 years more to go.
All right.
Yes.
And as I was mentioning earlier, thank you so much, by the way, Ken. So as I was mentioning earlier, just like anything else, there are also challenges as well too, right? And one of the challenges I see when it comes to nursing, I'm talking about the shift work. Sometimes, like you have to do shift work or something, you have to do long hours and so forth. I see it to be a challenge.
Right.
What are some of the things you see to be a challenge doing what you do? Having said that, though, if you really love it, it might not be a challenge, but I want to hear from you.
You know what? Well, I got to be honest. I did like 4 years of nursing in Guyana, but I did most of my nursing in the United States, taking care of the underserved, the underprivileged, the poor, the addicted, the mentally ill. And one of the things that I see that bothered me a lot is that a lot of my patients, in fact, I used to take care of 60 clients, and I've been there for like 17 years, and a lot of these families, they just leave these patients there who's mentally ill and abandon them, and I would never see none of the families. So it gave me an added incentive to do the job, to go there and make these patients feel at home, that somebody loved them and care for them. And that's one of my passion, and that has given me the drive to continue doing what I do. And the truth of the matter is that God has given me the patience to sit down and listen to some of the stories that these patients will tell me. And it was sad. Sometimes I sit down crying with these patients. Sometimes I'll come home and I'll tell my wife, oh my God, I feel so sorry for this patient. And one of the things, the challenging things that bothered me a lot is that I had some patients who migrated to the United States from different parts of the country, and they have never set back foot into their country to see any of their loved ones. And I know that that has been a very difficult thing for them to do. So these are some of the challenges that that I've encountered. But on the positive note, as a nurse, I tell people that, sometimes I will see, I used to work in a cardiac unit where I would see people coming with cocaine-induced chest pain, or they would stop breathing, and I will go there and I'll try my very best to see how best I could save these patients. And there are times, sometimes when I sit with these, when I find someone dead or one is very sick, I'm lucky that, I don't know if what you want to call it, a ministry, but sometimes I would stay there and I pray to God that, God bless them, let God find a resting place for them and take them earlier so that they would not go through any struggles that they're going through. To be honest with you, I see some people, if I don't give them a cup of water, or the staff don't give them a cup of water, they don't get nothing to drink. So it was a job that I wanted to do. And I'm so glad that God has put me in that position to help people. Yes, it could be challenging. I don't know if you have this question, but I could share with you that as a nurse, I work with patients who, I found about 4 or 5 patients who OD'd. And when I say OD, they overdose.
Yeah.
Yes. And I would go search for them, and I'd find them dead in the apartment. Some of them died for a day, 2 days, 3 days, couple hours. But and that what was challenging for me too, because nobody missed these patients. And when I said, "Where's this patient?" I haven't seen her or him, and we'll go to the apartment and we'll find them dead somehow or the other. And so that was hard for me to do, to go and find people dead.
Of course, absolutely. Just by me hearing it, it's hard to hear.
Yeah.
No kidding, eh? Honestly, I think that, we are here and we all have a purpose, right?
Right.
And it is very clear to me, based on what you've shared and what I've known you. Obviously, I've been in the show a few times and so forth. It is very clear that you are fulfilling your purpose here. So I encourage you to continue along that line. Because for the way I see, the way I, view it is, that's one way to serve God. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So kind of like we can serve God through those ways. That's
Absolutely.
a whole different topic. Anyway, so thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
So as you know, I'm here, and I understand what awards and recognition means, right? Having said that, you have received a good chunk of awards yourself, specifically when it comes to nursing. As I understand it, as I read up on you, you'll receive like a good, 25 plus awards. And I'm talking specifically for the nursing. Tell us about that.
Well, how do I tell you? Well, when I started nursing school, I was a surprisingly, no, I work hard for it. So I was a valedictorian for my class. I was the best graduating student out of 36 students. So, but I put a lot of work in being a nurse.
Hmm.
I was always on time. I give love. I give support. I was a team player. Excuse me. But coming to the States, you know, it's a lot of commitment. I have committed to this job, and I always believe that if I want to be a nurse, I will have to give it my best shot. And so, one of the good things that people recognize the way that I practice nursing with love, with empathy, with caring, understanding, and people have really seen that and really have recognized me. I've got a Nurse of the Year, which was a big award.
Hmm.
I got award for Go Beyond Service Award. And there's so many nice awards that I've received over the years. And so it's a nice thing to do. And I know that you would do that. I said this before, that to be recognized for the work that you have done, to be awarded, these are great feelings.
Of course, of course. First of all, thank you. It is not a
You're welcome.
crime. It's not a crime to be recognized, right?
No, no.
People recognize your work, and it's very motivating. And very
Yes.
recently, I was sharing with somebody when I was very young, a small child.
Right.
I was given I was given a little certificate for perfect attendance. I'm
Oh,
talking a
wow.
long story here, but
Right.
honestly, it really made me feel good, to tell you the truth. And
Absolutely.
all I was doing, show up to school every day, nothing more than that. But it
Yeah.
motivated me. It's so important, and so I understand the importance of recognizing people too, and I'm sure you do too. But
Hmm.
also, I have to tell you, I agree with you when it comes to the recognition.
Yeah.
It does not, nothing changed for me when it comes to the recognition. The feeling stays the same, the
Yes. Yes.
excitement and so forth, which is awesome. That's great. I mean, and first of all, it really highlights, for me, it's like the icing on the cake, right? This icing on the cake, to highlight, the great work you've done, which is awesome. Good stuff.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
awesome.
Thank you.
All right. And so, apart from your professional work, in terms of the nursing, you also have a love for birds, right?
Yes.
There's
Yes.
no
Yes.
question about that. And as I
That,
look through the window here, there are birds flying around here and there,
right. Right.
and it's a beautiful thing. My father is kind of like that, and my brother as well too. Since when he was a little boy, in Guyana, he used to have these birds. But my other brother never liked the idea of the birds. Like, his concept of it is very different.
Right.
He felt that they should be out there and
Great.
and whatnot. But as you know, over here they have birds that are considered. You will know all of this, and please share with us. They have birds, which are considered like indoor birds and so forth, right? So share
Right.
that with us as well too. But yeah, so tell us about that, like where that passion came from, because I think it's a beautiful thing.
The truth of the matter is that many years ago, a friend took me to a place called Current, upstate New York, and I went there and I saw a lot of birds. They were hand feeding them, and I says, "Wow, I would love to get some birds and I could hand feed them." And so, a couple of years after, when I get my apartment, I decided to buy some birds, and I had a nice cage for them, a nice big cage. They could fly back and forth. I think it was by 4 feet by 4 feet. And so when I started with the birds there, I started to breed them myself. And then I found out there was bird shows right here in New York. I didn't know it was bird show around the place. In
Hmm.
Canada too. I mean, I judged in Canada too. So
Hmm.
I said to myself, I would want to get into showing birds, to breeding birds, showing birds, and that's how I started. Surprisingly, the first time that I show a bird, I won Best in Show. And that really motivated me.
Absolutely.
So I start to breed my birds. And one of the things that I could tell you, Narine, is that because of birds, I've met a lot of beautiful people, a lot of beautiful souls. I've traveled extensively in the United States and Puerto Rico, showing birds, especially here in the eastern part of the United States. I would drove 18, 20, 25 hours, 28 hours just to go and show my birds. And some people ask me if I'm crazy to do that, but it's nice when you go on one. Actually, I received one of the top exhibitor in the United States
Hmm.
couple times, and I'm always competitive and always want to win. And so after I see the birds, I used to always pick out which one of the birds going to win when I go to a show. And so other big people who bred birds before and won, they said, you should really be a judge too, because you always picking out the birds. And of course, one of the criteria, you have to have so much points and to
Hmm.
win so much shows.
Hmm.
So I was able to God, it pulled the guts out of me. I studied really hard to do the bird test with the National Finch Bird Show here in the United States and Puerto Rico and Canada too. So I studied. I failed the test about 2 times because it was tough. And to pass the test, you have to get 90%, which was harder than my nursing. God, I could not believe that.
Absolutely.
So I passed the test on the third try, which is a good thing. Also, I was the first Guyanese to become a National Bird Show judge. Also, the first Guyanese to judge a National Bird Show here in North America. So, and the birds, because of the stress and the job and so on, all of us need a hobby and all of us want to do something. So for me, the birds was the problem, was the thing that give me my satisfaction. You know what I'm saying? When you go through your stress, you go into your bird room and you see you have some new babies, you get excited. And what was interesting is that you will put 2 black birds together and you will get a gray baby, a white baby, a brown baby. And so genetics play a really big part in all of this. So it was kind of rewarding too, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely, yeah. So I was going to ask you about this judging aspect of things, but thank you so much for sharing that with us. I think that's pretty cool because when it comes to anything along the line of, judging anything for that matter, you're basically sharing your expertise there, right? Because as you mentioned, people recognize that, hey, you can be more than just showing off those birds, right? You can you can be a judge as well too and so forth. And that's pretty awesome. And I like what you mentioned earlier. It also gave you the opportunity to travel, right? You get to meet great people. And it's such a beautiful thing, which is awesome. Good stuff. Yeah, that's awesome. So how many birds do you have right now as we speak?
Well, right now I just have a parrot because when I was sick with COVID and so on, I didn't have the time for the birds and so on. But someday I would like to go back into the birds because one of the things is that if you want to continue being a judge for birds, you will have to have birds, But it's not just any bird I want to get. I will have to make sure you have some good money to buy some good birds.
Good bird, yeah, good one for sure. That's awesome.
Yes.
All right. So, I mean, the work that you do, thank you so much, by the way, for sharing that with us. I have more questions for you, of course, but, for folks who are just tuning in or who will be tuning in later on and whatnot, I want to remind you that you are listening and watching the Dr. Narine Dat Show, and we have the very known Ken Prasad. He also has his own talk show, and he's very much passionate about what he does in terms of his career, nursing. He did it, for decades. He has a passion for birds. But I want to talk about also your passion for giving back to the community in so many different ways, right? And I want to break it down a little bit.
Okay.
You and we both migrated from Ghana, and I came to Canada, you went to the States, but we always find ways to kind of give back and whatnot, right? A lot of people do that.
Yes.
Tell us about some of the things. I'm aware of those things, and I'm hoping that people will listen. Hopefully people will use it as a motivator to kind of give back in some shape or form, because these things are important. You have done a lot of great work when it comes to giving back to the people in Ghana, which is such a beautiful thing. Tell us about that.
Well, one of the things is that growing up, I know what it is to want, to give, to receive. And so I thought to myself that, listen, if I am blessed, the best thing that I could do is to share my blessing with people and share it with the world. And so when I think of Guyana, I know there is so many people that wanted stuff in Guyana. And so I decided that, let me see how I could help in terms of getting Pampers to Guyana, getting wheelchairs to Guyana and different beds or whatever it is, So I enjoy doing that too, because it gives a great satisfaction when you do good. I think being a good soul and doing good things, it's a great satisfaction. So I thank God for that. I've never seen all of this. To be honest with you, Narine, I did not see myself doing all these things that I'm able to do. And I have to add this piece into that in my journey, that I have met so many people who wanted to help me. And I can tell you that I don't do this alone. I have so many people that supported me along the way. And so I'm grateful for all those people who have supported me. It's not a one-man show, if you know what I mean.
It's not a one-man show, but usually when people take the lead to do something, they end up doing a lot of the work as well too, right? But
Right.
that's okay. No, I hear what
Yes.
you're saying. It's other
Yes.
people helping out. There's no
Right.
question about that. The people help
Right.
out, people, whatever. But
Yes.
anytime you take a lead to do something,
Yes.
you know, there's a lot of extra responsibility there, right? That's for
Yes.
sure. And so
Yes.
thank you for doing what you do. And it's a beautiful thing. But keep in mind as well too that people contribute and help out in whatever ways they can, whatever ways works for them, right? So
Yeah. Also, I want to add too. I don't know if you got a question or you want me to talk about it
no,
now.
yeah, you go right ahead.
Well, some of the work that I really do too is, but I am very passionate about domestic violence in Guyana,
Yeah.
as you and I have known that a lot of our women have been murdered, have been abused, and so I am really passionate about that, and would hope one day that I could be able to change together, you and I and other people could make a difference in the lives of so many other women. So, actually, to be honest with you, I was supposed to head to Guyana next week or the following week, but I have to cancel that because of what's going on in Guyana. So, suicide prevention. Also, I'm very passionate about suicide prevention because you know what, Narine, that you and I know, and you did psychology and all these things and social worker. That I believe that living a life is a blessing, and when you're blessed, it's a great thing. And I believe that one should be able to live their life to the fullest and not take their life prematurely. So those are some of the things that I want to help with. Also, I hope that one day that I could help because a lot of people help me to where I'm at this time, and I would love to at least help about 10 young men in Guyana or elsewhere to make it in life because I really do believe in second chances. I believe that because not because someone failed in their young days from their adolescent or teenager years, that means they should be a failure throughout their lives. I believe in giving people chances, and that's what my goal is really too.
Amazing. That's awesome. Here in Canada, they have something called second career, where you know, people can have that second chance. In fact, there's an organization called Second Chance, by the way,
Oh wow!
funded by the government, by
Oh
the way.
really? Good,
And
good.
so, and because it's important, because none of us, including myself, will be successful at our very first try.
Right.
Failure is such of a normal thing.
Yes.
The real failure actually is when we give up, right? As long as we keep moving, right? I
Right.
think that's a key point for sure. So that's amazing. That's awesome. And continue along that line. It is needed. Sometimes people just need that. They need some, you know, most of the time, believe it or not, people need somebody just to believe in them, you know, and that little bit of a support. And then once they have that, you know, good foundation, then they can just, you know, move on their own. And then in the long run, they too, you know, will continue to do good things in society and things of that sort. I've seen it all the time. I'm sure you have as well too. So
Absolutely.
that's awesome.
Yes.
That's amazing. So thank you so much for sharing that. Very much appreciated. There's no question about that. So how does it feel to be on the other side today?
Oh, that's funny. I'm glad to see that
You know,
because
it's nice to have that break and because I know you have people on your show and whatnot, but I think it's nice for us to get to know you too. I think that's important
yes,
for us to kind of highlight. I mean, for me, I the way I say it, there's no coincidence that the two of us are connected, right?
right,
We
right.
have lots in common. You know, we passion, you know, we have passion to do things, and I think that's important, kind of thing. So you said to me earlier, Ken, that you know, you have another 2 to 3 years more to kind of, you know, wrap up your professional career as a nurse,
Right.
and it's very clear that you have enjoyed your journey, which is such a beautiful thing because in
Yeah.
my earlier days, I work as an employment counselor, so I get to hear all the stories of people not liking what they're doing and the regret afterward and so forth, and it can be painful, you know.
Yes.
What is it that you see doing, you know, after you kind of officially retire? What is it that you see doing for the rest of your life?
Well, you know, Narine, I don't know if you remember, but when COVID just came out, you know, I was very sick with COVID. I've lost about 20 pounds in 1 week. And one day while I was sleeping, there was something that came over me and said to me, and I woke up after they said that you are not going to die. So I tell myself that, you know what, I get a second chance. I've lived my life. God has been good to me. I have lived life to the fullest. If I die tomorrow, today, I can't complain. But I believe that the rest of my life is like my cup is full and run it over. And the rest of my life that's left, I want to continue serve humanity and to continue help those who the underserved, the underprivileged. And that's what I see. My goal is not to become rich, not to run and gain a lot of money. As long as I can provide for my family, my wife, my sons, that's all that good. But I will not take out of the equation those who need my help.
Yes, amazing. The key point is to make sure, and it looks like you have a plan. You've just said it in a different way there. It's important because retiring can be tough too. I've heard from a few people,
Yeah, I heard so too.
My father, like he's in his 80s now, but when he retired, I can remember like it was hard for him because he was always busy doing something, and he said to me like, "This is the hardest thing, to not to do anything and whatnot." But he keep himself engaged, and I mean, you know the drill. The key point is keep yourself engaged and do things. And I mean, at the end of it all, you retiring, when it gets to that point, it will give you the opportunity to do more of what you love doing, and it's going to feel better because, as you mentioned, and we all know it, giving, if you give for the right reason, it is very fulfilling, right? Which is awesome. Awesome. Good stuff. Amazing.
Thanks.
So Ken, I mean, I have to be realistic with you. We live in a challenging world.
Yes.
Right. We all are professionals in our own ways and whatnot. And yes, we have experienced, a lot of good things and whatnot in life. And this is a beautiful thing. And it is important for us to recognize all of that. Having said that, though, there are a lot of challenges, in society, a lot of challenges in this world. We live in tough times here. We live in a different era, all of that. So generally speaking, I'm not looking for a magical response here, but generally speaking, how is it that you as an individual deal with negativity?
You know what? Good question. Let me be honest with you. I know my worth. I know my value. I know what I bring to the table. And a lot of people who try to pull people down, they are not where I am at right now. So I believe in my own self. And so I don't let it get to me too much. I know it gets to my wife sometime. And it bothers me like any other human being.
Absolutely.
It does bother me sometimes. But then I go back and think about how blessed I am. So I just look at my own life as a blessing. My cup is full and run it over. So I don't need to, I would not let someone take their dirty paintbrush and paint me of who they are.
I love it.
Or someone, like for example, I'm not saying this in a braggadocious way.
No.
Don't think about it that way. Listen, I'm a young boy. I was a young boy growing up with a lot of failures in my life. I'm now blessed. I am living my best life. God has blessed me tremendously. I came to America. I don't have the white fence, but I got a little thing there. But I got a house. I got my wife. I got my children. And I have everything that I need to continue living my life. So I am good. As for the negative, I just pray most of the time. Despite I don't go to church, I'm a very spiritual guy. I pray and ask God to every day to give me the faith to move on. And to even bless those who try to pull me down, if you know what I mean.
And that's hard to do, but I appreciate you saying that.
It
could be hard, depending on the situation, right?
It's tough. But as we are talking.
Absolutely.
Narine, to say this, the least is that if you know your worth and your value, and you know you're living your best life, then I would not let anyone, like I said, take the paintbrush and paint me, or let someone say who I am. No, I know my worth.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, it is very common. Everybody faces that in some shape or form.
Yes.
And I mean, I wish if, more study was done as to why, some people overdo it. Because some people overdo it, I had to block somebody recently. Now, I very rarely do it, but I do it because I just keep, if my circle continue to be small and if I have to tighten it, that's okay. But all of the sudden, out of the blue, somebody made a comment, a very dark comment, actually.
Right.
like ignore everything else, and I'm not sure was thinking from a whole different lens, and I did not respond, but I felt like it was not even worth my time to even respond.
Right.
But I just blocked the individual right away and so forth. And the individual, it's, well, technically is an intelligent person, you
Wow.
know, was a teacher from Guyana,
Wow.
right?
Yes.
Taught at the University of Guyana. But anyways, we'll
Oh,
leave
wow.
that as that.
Right.
Because, you know, but anyways, yeah. Just before we continue though, there are a few folks I can tell that, they tune in to watch Ken here. This is your people. I know your people, you know.
Oh, you know, I can't see any of the comment, but
I know,
thank
and
you.
that's okay, and that's okay. And people will be watching afterward because I mean the weather's nice as well too. People step out, but I can tell there are a handful of your people. So let me start off, and I don't mean it in a good, I don't mean it in a bad way, you know. So as I mentioned your name, take it as a good thing because you're here to support Ken, which is beautiful. I want to give a special hello to Sherry Williams, and I am aware as well too that you do
Oh,
great work. Not
yes.
easy work. It goes to show that you have the passion to do something, you know, that's needed, very much needed. The last time I met Sherry was when she came to Kitchener and there was a little concert thing going on. That was the
Oh,
last
really?
time I've kind of, yeah, and then I met her in New York City at an awards event as well too. So continue good work.
While you let me just say, as you say,
Yeah,
Sherry,
yeah,
and I wouldn't
of
I,
course,
I wouldn't
absolutely.
call everybody name, but
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, Sherry is one of the kindest person that I've met. You know, and I feel bad sometimes for her, but Sherry is such a giving person, and Sherry is the one actually who taught me how to do reels.
Well, there
You
you
know,
go. Well,
so
thank her now.
yeah, so Sherry's my girl. Despite I don't talk to Sherry, I think that she knows exactly how I feel about her. You
Okay.
know, but go ahead.
Yep, no, awesome. And again, I'm just highlighting, and I'm not, I'm just quickly highlighting because I know your people as well too. And so, Shanta is on here
Right.
as well too.
Yeah,
So
thanks,
obviously,
Shanta.
right. But I still want to acknowledge, I have some of my people and your people as well. So I guess I
Good,
can
good,
say
good, good.
are people who just support people, which is a beautiful thing. I want to give a special hello to Balika, who we've had in this show, a very
I
talented young lady
love
living
that
in New
girl. I
York
love that
City,
girl.
right?
Yes.
We want to say hello there.
Yeah.
Vikram, we will have to have you on this show, buddy. So hopefully we can make that happen.
Bikram is a nice guy too.
Um, Roshni, thank you for taking a sneak peek. And our brother, John from Queens, who we've
Oh,
had on the show as
a
well,
great
too.
guy. A great guy.
Yes. And I mean, our radio people, I wouldn't be able to see you on, you know, on what on radio, but Ken, if you are not aware, I started my journey, like my radio journey, a long time on radio,
Yeah.
mainstream radio, and we still kind of continue to kind of do it. So people are listening on radio as well. We want to
Oh,
acknowledge
okay,
that.
okay.
And so Ken, you visited Canada, you know, to do your board shooting and whatnot, but you came here a few times. You were at our Caribbean Dreams concert. What that experience was like for you to see something different. It's not, you know, our Canadian people are there a little more conservative, as you can tell. You know what I mean, right? What was the experience like to kind of come and see something different?
You know, before I answer your question, I want to say hello to Shanta Flowers. Always got
Mm-hmm.
my back,
Sure.
always supporting me. Also, Sherry Algaredo, who has my back and always supporting me too. I have to be very honest. I really do admire the work that you do, um, Narine. I'm not just saying it because I'm on your radio. I just speak the truth. As a guy who is so much, I always say, man, the man got a lot of award before I get to know you. But you know, you also do great work, and so I have to say, congratulations for all the things that you're doing and the awards you received, the education. Of course, you got so much awards and so much your education. I am so mesmerized by your achievements in life, and I want to tell you too that you will continue to do the great things that you do at the awards, and I know that it's a great thing to award people, to acknowledge people who do great work. And I hope that you will continue to do that. Hope probably this year I can come and see you guys again. You never know.
Yeah. So along that line, our next show is on October the 4th.
Okay.
right?
Okay.
For those of you who are watching, let's say you happen to, want to make a drive up here in Canada and Kitchener, and
Yeah.
whatnot.
Yeah.
October 4th is the date you want to kind of keep in mind.
Thank you.
Right. That's when we do. Ken is referring to the Caribbean Dreams concert that we do annually. I mean, it has changed over the years. We do it based on the resources we have at hand. We do it based on people's availability. You know how it goes, Ken, right?
Right. Right.
Lots of
Definitely.
things happen. People getting married, all of that. I was
Yeah.
married in October, actually. My traditional wedding was done on October the 1st, so there's a
Oh,
lot of
well.
things happening. My father's birthday is, in October and everything. So there's always a lot of things going on. There's Thanksgiving, happening here, and so a lot of things happening. It can be tricky and whatnot. It is Caribbean month here in Ontario
Oh,
as well,
wow.
too. People advocated to make that month of October like a month for the Caribbean people. It is a bill, right? It's a bill. So so the government give folks, here in Ontario to celebrate that and acknowledge it. So that's one reason we do it there. Like do it in the month of October. So speaking of awards, though, Ken, so this, as you know, you were there when we present awards, to people and whatnot. We call it the Activision Awards. The very first award we gave out was to a Jamaican-born, a very talented individual who is, a Juno Award nominee, which is the equivalent to the Grammy that
Oh,
you
wow.
guys have in the States and so forth. So we've been doing this for over 2 decades. And so what we have decided here, we have decided that we want to present you with the Activision Award, right?
Oh,
And
wow.
we will find a way to get that to you. There's creative ways to do it. We'll do that. You don't have to drive and come to Kitchener here. We
Okay.
can find anything that. So my question to you is, will you accept the award from us?
Absolutely. I think, and thank you very much for that thought too. Definitely. It's always good to recognize people for the work that they do. And so anytime I get any award, I want to say that any award, I will accept it on behalf of all the people who supported me, who support me in all the work I do. So any award I get moving forward, it's on behalf of all those who supported me. People like Shanta Flowers, people like Sherry Williams, Sherry Algaredo, So it's on behalf of everybody. So you know what I mean.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
So we all make mistakes, and like one mistake I made was not presenting you that award when you were at the show or the event that day. I know it was not confirmed whether or not if you're going to be there and so forth, so we weren't too clear. Like I know you said a good possibility and so forth,
Yes.
but that's okay. For me, it's never too late to make things happen, right?
Right.
Right. And so that's okay. And so
Yeah.
we'll kind of do that. And there are more, like we also will find a way to think we also presented to John, as we could mention openly as well too, and so forth. Yeah. So thank you for
You're welcome.
accepting that. So we'll make sure that that kind of happen.
Thank you.
So you also do, obviously, you do your shows and whatnot. What is it that you like most about what you do in terms of, your own talk show? And I mean, I have a good sense as to what you do, but it will be different hearing from you, right? Like, what is it that you look forward to the most when you're doing these shows?
I started radio because of things like domestic violence, suicide prevention, things like addiction, mostly addiction. And so I like the idea where I learn too as I'm doing shows, because I do a lot of you and I know that you have to do a lot of reading, a lot of researches and so on. So I like doing that. And so I get to share information from a lot of people. To a lot of people, I mean. So I want to say, like, educating our community. And like today, someone wrote to me and she said, "Oh, thank you so much for doing these little videos. And it really helped a lot and continue to do your great work." So for me, though, it's know that I could help somebody along the way. And I could be like a resourceful person. And I think that's about it. The glitz and the glamour, I am not too fancy about, because I believe that when I die and go to wherever I go, I would not take anything with me. That's my philosophy, But yes, trying to help our community as much as I can.
Yeah. So let me add to what you've said, if that's
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, no, because this kind of thing usually comes up. You brought up an excellent point, because all of us just, have to leave this world at some point and whatnot. And I like what you said in terms, we don't take anything with us. But, and I think we both talk about this as well, too. And I like that you're maximizing things while you're here, because that's important, because we should not sit and not do anything. We should do exactly what you're doing, right? You're maximizing your time. You're doing the things that are of importance to you. You're not just sitting and, lay
Yeah,
back and relax kind of thing.
right.
We just cannot sit and say, my goodness, one day we'll have to leave this world and gone. So let's not do this. Let's not, you know what I mean? And so we have to continue to our last breath, really
Right.
doing the things that we are much passionate about, whatever that is, and do it, right? We just can't say, okay, we are going to go. So when people put those kinds of posts on there and so for look, when you die, disappears, where you go, I
Right.
don't really appreciate it, because that's something totally different. While we are here, we want to maximize, things and, do all the good things.
Absolutely.
For
Yes.
sure. So
Yeah.
Ken, when you're not doing your show, and when you're not, doing your professional work as a nurse and whatnot, and the birthing and whatnot, like what else do you do with your time? So for example, are you the one do some cooking in the house at all, or is it your wife who does the cooking? You can be honest here.
I'll,
Safe space as well.
I'll be always honest. Well, you know what? I'm glad to say that, and I hope that my wife is listening. But like people like Shanta, Sherry, the two Sherrys, and my friends, they know that Geeta is a very supportive wife. I am glad that we are an example, to be very honest, to our boys and to our friends, because we don't spend our time arguing and fighting. Despite I get a little jealous sometimes, Geeta get a little jealous sometimes, but that's fine. But otherwise to that, I live a very purposeful life, Narine. In the morning when I wake up, my son actually got a dog. And so my morning starts with the dog. I also clean the house. I mop, I sweep, I wash the dishes, I clean the countertop, I clean the stove, I clean the microwave when it's cold. And I do help my wife up if she got to cook chicken and so on. I could cut up the chicken and wash them out and so on. So when she come in from work, she just have to cook it. I'm not a good cook. If I cook, nobody will want to eat. Also, I do a lot of. I would chase people out with the cooking, but I could do a little cooking though,
Of
But
course,
I
of
eat
course,
that
of
of
course. You
course.
can survive. You can survive.
I can survive.
Absolutely.
Also, I like my garden. I take pride in my garden, my vegetable garden, my flower garden. Also, if you come in my house, you will see that I made a lot of stuff and put it in there. I got plants in my house. I have a lot of candles around. So, but I also, I'm glad you asked me that. People think that I run a lot, and which is true, but I also find the time to really rest too. Like I came from work, I play with the dog a little bit, then I went and lay down a little bit for like an hour. And so I always, every day, I made sure that I put aside some time for me to rest. Me time,
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah,
Yes.
for sure. No, and that's important, right?
Yes.
For sure. So that's going to be considered. I was going to ask you about a self-care piece, but it is very clear that you do some things specifically for Ken, which will
Yes.
be considered that self-care piece, making sure you're taking care of you in that sense, right?
Also, I want to add to that I do, before I sleep, I do listen to some good, light, relaxing music. And sometimes Geeta will say, by how you could sleep with the music. But I do sleep with music sometimes. And of course, I do listen to, because, Narine, I work in a high stress job. I take care of patients who abuse drugs and cocaine and these things, alcoholics and so on. And I see a lot of struggles in life. I see what people go through. So I always like to, when I go into work, I go in with a good mindset. I'm going in to help these clients, and I don't want to get upset with them because they could you could get triggered easily. So I want to go into work at a feeling good about myself. And I do listen to spiritual music sometime. I listen to speeches by some good like Joel Osteen, Drake, a lot of things I listen to put my mind at ease during the morning, you know.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Mhm.
So let's say you had, let's say the opportunity
Yeah.
to relive your life, all over again. So let's say you have that switch and you're just going to touch that switch and you get to start to live life from scratch again. Knowing what you know now, because we are more educated than we were 20 years ago, all of these types of things, right? Knowing what you now, will you change anything at all if you were to live your life all over again, or will you continue on exactly how things were for you?
That's a great question. I asked myself the question the other day. There are two things I'll probably do. One of them is that I would have got to run away with Geeta earlier. When she was 16 or 17 years. I mean, at a good age. I'd probably take her away, or try to get married to her earlier. Or I'd be a little more braver guy and say, listen, I like you, you like me, let's do this.
Problem solved.
You know what I mean? The other thing is that, I worked a lot of money in life, but I didn't get to save a lot of money. I was the guy who always giving. So definitely I would have been able to save some money. And that's basically two things I would want to do to change. Because I am happy of who I am and the person that I have turned out to be in life. Blessing is important, if you know what I mean.
And that's the main thing, right? I totally hear what you're saying, but that's the main thing. I mean, at the end of the day, as long as you're happy, that's
Right.
all that matters, right?
Yeah.
Because I mean, I have my clients and so forth. I mean, they, in a sense, this like, or at least that's how I see it based on my knowledge. Like they kind of struggle in so many different ways, right? Having a proper place to stay, having, a job, all of these types of things.
Mhm.
And I have to say, when I ask them this question, you'll be amazed to know how grateful they are just by the fact that they're surrounded, by wonderful, great people and things of that sort. So
Mhm.
so don't worry too much about that. But I'm glad.
No.
But by the looks of it, as you reflect back on your
Yes.
own journey, it looks like those are the two things that you probably will change.
Yes. Yes.
Because you're more knowledgeable now than you were, right? So
Of course. Of course. Yes.
that's awesome. That's awesome.
Mhm.
So you and I mean, we talked about this in the past, but I want to give you the opportunity to kind of share this here with the hope that people can walk away with some sort of, knowledge, or at least rethink certain things as they leave, or hopefully even reflect on their own life as well too. Despite the fact that all of us, have gone through different challenges in life, at different times. Sometimes we feel as if the whole world is against us and all that. These things is very normal, right? Despite all of that, we can still look back and be grateful for so many different things. What are some of the things Ken is grateful for?
Oh my, that's a great question. I'm glad you asked me that question. In the morning, I'm grateful for life. I'm grateful for a good wife and good boys. And I think that also a great job that I love. I'm glad that God continued to give me this love and this empathy that I'll be able to care for people who are hurting or those who are in pain or for the less fortunate. And most of all, I'm grateful for life, that I could make a difference, and that at my age 60, I doesn't have anything that's so detrimental where I cannot that I cannot do things for my own self. So there's a lot of great things that I appreciate in life, and I'm very thankful. Every day of my life, I am thankful. And I want to say this, Narine, is that I live a life that's full of gratitude for all the people who have helped me in life. I'm grateful. They would never know. And I could tell you, even people like Shanta Flowers, I don't know if she's still listening, who have really supported me in the International Men's and Women's Day celebration. That, I mean, I say it to them, but I don't know if my friends, even like Sherry, both Sherrys, and I don't know if they understand the magnitude of how much I appreciate those people who are good to me. I am grateful for good friends, those who give me kind advice, who support, who buy a candle for me sometimes. Um, I am so glad that for these kind of things in life, if you know what I mean. So being gracious is a good thing. Um, are you there? Can you hear me?
I can hear you nice and clear. Can you
Oh,
hear me?
no, but yeah, I could hear you because somebody called me, tried to call me just
I
now.
see.
Somebody tried to call me just now. That's what the problem is.
Yeah, no worries.
Um,
I can see and hear you just as normal. So continue on.
yeah. So I am grateful for life, actually. I am blessed. And so that's about it, Great friends. Like I'm glad I crossed paths with people like you too. People, John from Queens, DJ Fest. I am grateful for the lot of friends that I've met.
Awesome. That is great. That is
Yeah.
wonderful stuff for sure.
Yeah.
And so you are a father, obviously. You are, a husband and whatnot. And so what was, I mean, I'm not trying to get into depth here. I'm a father as well too, and I think it's important for us to bounce up these conversation here.
Yeah.
So what it's like to be a father, especially father for two boys?
Oh gosh. I became to be honest with you, I became a father when I was 42 years old. And when I became a dad, I actually cried because here it is, I'm a father. But I want to tell you that's one of life's greatest blessing when you could be a father. And I got two boys. I wanted a daughter, but you know what? I am grateful. And I only hope that my boys grew up to be great men. And both myself and my wife, we lived a life, and we are the example for them to follow. But it is good. I'm glad. I am happy. They will tell you that when they get Student of the Month, I would go to the school and I'll tear up a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Although they're small,
Mm-hmm.
but it's challenging. Sometimes the older they get, it's more challenging it gets. But I only hope that they become good guys. That's all.
Absolutely,
And
yes.
whatever they choose to do, that they will be successful at it.
Yeah. That's what parents want, right? They want the best for their kids, for sure.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. You were going to say something else?
No. That's it. No.
Okay. All right. So Ken, I'm gonna kind of leave this on. So I want you to know I really appreciate, you taking the time to kind of respond to all of these kinds of questions and so forth. But
Yeah.
as you know, we have lots of stuff happening in this world,
Yeah,
As
man.
we see a lot of stuff happening, and the two of us will kind of meet and we'll talk more and whatnot on your show and all these types of things. But right now something is very hot right now, and I want to talk about this if that's okay.
Yes.
And we don't have to get in full depth, and we don't want to speculate anything and whatnot. But I mean, we're both parents, and it's a mess. It's on my mind, and it's a reason why I'm asking, or we're talking about it, because we have people watching, listening too, and we want their take on it as well too. As you know, Guyana, is going through some challenging time in terms of the loss of this 11-year-old. I'm not sure what question to ask you, but what's going through your mind like right now, or what went through your mind when you saw that news?
Well, let me say that tomorrow we will have a show, you and I, tomorrow.
Yes.
5-6 o'clock sometime.
Mm-hmm.
We'll put it out. But Narine, when I listened to this, this story made me cry. I mean, a couple times. Every time I listen to the father, I keep tearing up. But it has to be. It is sad. And I really do hope that those who is responsible for causing this to this child will be held accountable, and the people of Guyana will get justice. I also know Guyana is actually at a turning point because of social media. We are at a turning point that there will be changes made. As you and I know that they're going to have 3 pathologists to do the autopsy tomorrow for these kids, and I know that it will be transparent. And I hope things work out for the parents, despite what I know that the parents would not get this child back again. But we at the stage now, we want justice for this child. We cannot help but to hurt and to go through so much pain for a little child. So this child, I believe, will make a big difference in the future of Guyana. What else do I need to tell you? I know that we will talk about how do we move on tomorrow. I get my questions for you, and I'm glad you're asking me so that Tomorrow is your turn where I get to ask you these kind of questions. But we have to think about, and I'm going to give you a heads up tomorrow, we will talk about how do we get how do parents get by? How do the community get by? How do Guyana continue? And how do friends them get by? You and I know that these things could cause mental health issue. It could cause depression, post PTSD. So tomorrow, you as the expert will be able to tell us some of the things that we could really do. But yes, people have to be very careful in how they are going to gather all these things. And guess one of the things that we are not talking about? Last week, same time, there was three persons was gone down.
Yeah.
4 people died, but nobody talking about it.
Yeah, and you're right. We will be talking about that for those of you who are watching, listen right now. I will be on the Kenneth Rampersaud show tomorrow, so we are going to get into depth, when it comes to what Ken has just shared, referring to the situation in Guyana. But Ken, this reminds me to share with our folks here earlier today. I believe earlier today or last night. 11 people here lost their life in Canada. Very unusual, where there was one. Yes. So there was a gathering, just a gathering. People gathering. They were kind of mourning the loss of the Pope. And all of a sudden, there's one individual. He just drove into the crowd. Just like that.
Sorry to hear that.
11 people lost their lives. And so I have not had a chance to dive into like all the, the fine details into it, but that is a problem, right?
It is a problem.
Because does that mean that it's not even safe for people to go and have a public prayer session? You know what I mean? So I was very saddened by that, actually.
Yes.
But we'll leave that for, I just thought I mentioned that too, because my point is that there are a lot of things happening, right? And it's hard. It's hard, especially for people like you and I, because we care, right?
Yes.
The work that we do that line of work, right? So that's kind of thing. Yeah, I guess you didn't know. I mean, because this is Canada, you guys wouldn't necessarily know, right? If it was in the States, we probably would have known what's happening in the States, right?
Definitely.
Yeah. That's just, and we have election. On a side note, we have election tomorrow. So tomorrow we are basically making the selection of our prime minister, and I believe Trinidad and Tobago, they're doing the same. I believe it's tomorrow as well.
And then Guyana soon too.
And Guyana stuff happening soon as well too. So there's lots going on there.
Yeah.
So we're gonna save all of that, but I just thought I got people thinking as well too, regarding that. Ken, is there any additional stuff? I'm kind of leaving it open to you now as well too. If there's any additional stuff that you want to share, that you didn't have the opportunity to share. And about you, really, about, whether that be, a challenge, but you were able to turn that into something positive, made you a better person that you want to share with our viewers and listeners, anything that pops up?
Well, one of the things I want people to know is that, and I know that you want me to keep focus on me, but I just want people to know that all the things that they've done for me and how they support me, that I really appreciate these things genuinely. And it's not easy sometimes. My road, I see a lot of things. I put a lot of things on my Facebook page, but also sometimes, I have to deal with these things too as a human being, but I try to keep them arm's length from me so that it doesn't bother me too much in my soul, So I am trying my best not to let anything bother me. My mental health. Also, I want to say, my wife, who have been supportive to me, I know very often she don't hear I say it, but I appreciate all the things that she have done, and we are trying our very best to make this life something that's livable. You know what I'm saying? We are lucky. We have 1, 2 good friends who support us in the good and the bad. But as I said, we are lucky that we don't go through a lot of bad things. Life, as you have said, there is so much going on in our community, and I hope that that we choose to do good than to do bad, and to support goodness than badness and evilness. And it's a sad world, as you have said before. And I hope that we all will try to live a meaningful life, and remember this one thing, that this life that we are living is we are just a passing through on earth. We are not going to live here forever. So if we could stop, take a deep breath and, breathe, enjoy your life, enjoy your vacation, go out, spend time, spend me time, do whatever you can do for your own self. And anything that's bothering your soul, you know, keep it away from you. Don't get things to let it bother you so much where you would get sick or whatever it is. Also, you know that I started my book a long time and I'm struggling a little bit, but I hope by next month I could finish this book. I tell you, it's so much things going on that sometimes I can't get to focus, but I will call you definitely to talk about it probably tomorrow, another day. But I really want to let this book go. I also want to tell, as we are talking now, and you have different folks listen to your show, I also want to tell young children, young boys, you know what, let's try to curb domestic violence in Guyana and elsewhere. I think it's not the way to go. If you are going through hard time with you and your partner, go get counseling. It helps, it works. You and I know that. Also, suicide prevention, let's all work together for a common good and for a better world that we're living in. And with young boys and girls, I want to encourage them to at least give it your best shot to go to school and take your education. That's your master key for life. And even if you don't make it now, don't take your foot off the pedal. Continue going, and you will never know that you will end up like a person like me, who in later on in life that I've made it, who a great guy who I am. You know what I'm saying? And so I think basically that's it. And I don't know what else to tell you. If you ask me questions, then I probably would know.
Yeah. No, but you brought up some good point that I want to kind of highlight as well too, especially for the younger folks, right? It is so important for. I know that we are all at a different place in life, and not all of us have to be, doctors or lawyers and so forth. But in this competitive world, the younger folks, it is so important for them to stay in school and really stay focused. And as you mentioned, Ken, we might not always be successful the very first try, and that's totally fine, right?
Yeah.
And I like how you said it. You cannot take your foot off that pedal, right? Because we're gonna fall off, right?
Right.
You have to kind of keep pedaling. So, Ken, you shared earlier that, you know what, look, you were not necessarily strong academically, when you were in school, but you know what, you somehow managed to kind of, carry on and whatnot, and you've done well. What would you say were some of the things that motivated you to kind of keep going? Because it can be, disappointing for some people when they've given it, the best shot, they have personal thing going on, maybe not enough support in their circle, and who knows what else. What were some, key factors for you that kept you going?
One of the good things that I realized in life, that life, when you're blessed, right, out of 1 million sperm, you was able to born. That's a big blessing there, that you came into this world. And I also believe in my heart that it's a big blessing to be alive. And so I want to give life the best shot I got with all the things that have thrown at me. I really push hard to be who I am today. And that's why sometimes I don't let people just come and think they could walk all over me. You know what I'm saying? I define who Ken Rampersaud is. I defend I clear my own path for who I am. And so I would not let anyone come and just walk all over me. There was something I was going to say, let's talk a little bit about disappointment. Like I said, and I want to share this so that any young people listening to this, that I could be a source of inspiration for them. As I said before, I wanted to be a first aider. I didn't get through. I wanted to be a police officer too when I was a kid, since I failed all my exams, and I didn't get through them. And every time the senior police will tell me, "You're too short, you can't come in," despite whatever strings I pull. I want to let people know that all disappointment is not bad. That not because you meet up a roadblock, that means your world end or it's done for you. I want you to clear the path, skip over those hurdles and continue running, and you never know where life's journey will take you. So determination, always don't give up. No matter whatever you do, don't give up. Give life the best shot you got in life as long as you're breathing and you don't have a disability. Right?
Amazing. Yeah, that's awesome. So you mentioned to me, and you mentioned a few times, you mentioned that you really wanted to become a police officer,
Yeah.
and you tried on something to do with your height. So does that mean that size does matter then? I thought
Yes,
size does
size
matter.
matter. Yes.
I'm leaving that to that.
Yeah, I get you. Yes, it does matter.
But you know what? Here in Canada, they've made a change where that does not matter. Like to go back to seriousness here now. Doesn't I've seen like short girls, they are doing police work and whatnot and so
Yeah.
forth, because it's part of really trying to close the gap and try to be inclusive, right? So it's not like these tall, 7 foot, and whatnot, guys. Like it's basically it's open to more people, which is good.
Yes.
And what was it about the police officer that you said you wanted to be a police officer? So what was it for you that draw your attention there?
That is so funny. You asked me that question because I always like to wear uniform too. I always like that police uniform, and that was the wrong reason actually to do to anyway. That wasn't the right reason, but then because I like to be neat. I always like to dress neat.
Oh.
But I like to dress neat. I like the way they dress, but you know what? I still went on into a profession where I could dress the way I want to dress. And did you know that I got the best dressed uniform staff at North General Hospital for approximately 5 years? Because I always like to dress neat. And my mother always tell me, no matter how much piece of clothes you got, let it be clean.
Yeah.
Let it be clean,
So did I hear you correctly? In terms of the best dress thing, is that something they do annually at the workplace somewhat?
You know what? The vice president of quality management, and a lot of people used to tell me every day, they used to tell me, my God, look how you dress to come to work. My clothes is iron. That's the pride in me. And everybody love how I dress. So one day the vice president of quality management said, I have to make an award special for you. And she did.
Oh, wow.
And I started to win them awards all the time,
So Ken, thank you so much for that. So now I normally I don't read all the comments, but I want to read this one here in honor of Ken. So Shanta is saying, hey, Dr. Narine, the shorty can be more than the tally. I guess she's trying to make a little bit of a sarcastic joke, and I have to agree with her, because speaking of you wanting to be a police officer and so forth, so this is my response to what you were saying and what she's saying here.
Right.
There's an old saying that the size of the gun does not matter, right? The force of the bullet is what matters the most.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I'm going to leave that as that as well too. So that is great, Ken. That is awesome. So it goes to show that you take pride in what you do, right? There's no question about that.
Yes.
There was a very popular singer, Anup Jalota. Many singers.
I know the name.
Yeah, Anup Jalota. I've met him personally and went to Guyana and so forth. And he really loves singing, but he sings a lot of religious song, bhajan and so forth. But he did a little bit of a playback singing, I believe, as well too. But very recently, and he's very popular,
I know his
and
name,
very known and whatnot. But you know what he said recently? He presses his own clothing. He doesn't get anybody to do it.
Wow.
He can afford it. He can get people, to do it. He has people, cooking and drive him out and so forth. But the pressing, he says that he loves to make sure that that's his thing. He wants to do it his way, and that's a beautiful thing, right? Like nobody can get it right for him, right? So it kind of reminds me of him.
Narine, that to be honest with you, I press my gout in clothes. Geeta doesn't press my clothes. She only pressed my uniform.
So you still do the pressing then, eh? So we have, I try my best. Well, good for you, Ken. That's awesome. Yeah. But the pressing, I do my own pressing too. So that's okay, right? That's okay, because that's something you take pride in doing, something that's important to you, right?
Yes.
And so forth. Maybe Geeta don't take it personally. Maybe Geeta doesn't do it to your standard.
No. She can't.
I'm just joking.
But that's okay.
That's okay that you take pride in doing that. Because something you kind of think as well too. Because honestly, I mean, even study shows, right? And when you listen to certain people, when we were young, when we were in college and so forth, and we were ready to get into the workforce and so forth, they had like group sessions and whatnot, and they're telling us the importance of, dressing up nicely, going for interviews, you know what I mean, and
Yes.
clean shirt and dress shirt and a tie, depending on the role and so forth. And
Right.
and that's a beautiful thing, right? That's
Yes.
awesome. Good for you.
Thank
So
you.
Ken, if you were to weigh out, right? I'm not, and so you will have to do it for me here right now for the sake of responding to this question. So let's say you have to weigh all the negative, the bad things, and all the challenges that you've had over your life, in comparison with all the good things that you've had happening to you. And I'm hoping that you see all the good things, the people around you, all the things that you talked about. And let's say you weigh the two of them now. Which one do you think would overweigh which one?
Definitely the good things. You could look at your glass half full or half empty. And no matter what, I count it my blessing, that I have, I get to live my dream, my goals, my everything. I've attained, at age 35, I attained all my goals that I wanted in life.
Excellent.
I am just sailing through life now, and I'm waiting. And when God say, hey, I'm ready for you, I am ready too. So many people saying they're tired of this world, but still they don't want to die. My soul is right. And when my soul is right, I am good. What happens tomorrow, that's it, and I try to live at the present moment, not tomorrow, not yesterday. And you asked the good question, what I look for. Life is a blessing, my brother.
Absolutely, yeah. And you've brought up something good just now. I'm not sure if you heard what you said. I hope you did. We really have to live in the moment.
Yes.
So the best place we can ever be right now is where you are at right now. Trust me on this one. Not tomorrow, not yesterday, exactly what Ken said. So you see, we have a lot of stuff in common here. It's so important because a lot of times, Ken, people will, wait until they retire before they, enjoy life or plan life or travel or try to make the most of life, right?
Yeah.
That's not a good thing. You really want to embrace the moment, regardless of how challenging it is. Because a lot of the times, as we talk about on your show, even when we have challenges, it's telling us something, right? It's telling us, something's happening here. We may have to pause in life a little bit, as you mentioned, if we get stuck. We want to take a different direction, right? It's not the end of anything. It's just the beginning of something else, right? That's the reality of it. I know you have to go in a couple of minutes here. I'm going to let you go, not to worry.
That's all right. Don't worry.
Kind of thing. I wanted to ask you just one thing more, though, before you leave. So I wouldn't do this. Trust me on this one. I have a lot of other better things to do with my life. I have a beautiful wife. I have 3 beautiful girls.
Wow.
And I have wonderful people in my circle. But for curiosity, let's say I was to call up. Let's say I was to call your workplace right now, and I'm talking to a coworker of yours. What do you think they will say about you? I wouldn't do it, Ken, so don't.
Well, I think people will say that I'm funny because I make jokes all the time, or they will say I'm crazy. But I'm glad you asked that question. And yes, they will say I'm funny. But do you know that I want to say this one thing, and I meant to tell you earlier. At the end of my day, when you go to a funeral, you hear people say things. If my wife or my boys could say something to anybody, if they could, my wife, I know she is not a talkative person, but if she could say that I had a good husband, he gave me a good life, or my son say, I had the best father, I think that's just good enough for me. And my father was a kind man. That is so meaningful for me. Despite I may not hear that, but that's the legacy that I want to leave here on this earth. Just one word: I was a kind person.
Absolutely, and that's important.
Yeah, not what car I drive, or how ugly I was, or how good looking I was, or how big my house was, or how much money I was able to save. How kind I was, and what a difference I made in this world. That's all. And
so, on a side note here, and we don't have to get depth into it. Do you believe in life after death at all?
Oh my gosh, what a question! Listen, I'm going to put it in this way.
Yeah.
I put it in my own version because, it's funny. I mean, I'm Christian. They believe that when you go to heaven and hell.
Mm-hmm.
But let me tell you how I'm living. I'm living that in case there is a heaven and hell, that
Mm-hmm.
I'll go to heaven.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm living a life that if there is reincarnation,
Mm-hmm.
that I'll become born to become a greater human being.
Mm-hmm.
Not to be a snake or some other creature or whatever it is. And that's what I'm talking about, childhood story, you know what I'm saying? That I will be of something my next life, if there is one, that I'll be a great human being.
Yeah, so I didn't know you were a Christian actually, because for me it is irrelevant as to what people believe in practice. For people who
Right,
know
right.
me,
Me
I'm
too.
as open, so it's irrelevant to me if people, cultural background, where they're born, like those things doesn't bother me really. And the
Right.
reason why I'm mentioning this openly is that I've seen you with different pundits and you speak highly of pundits and so forth.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
both to show that you are, I guess what I'm trying to say to you in a different way here is
Yes.
that you are a genuine you are a genuine human being, that I can tell you for sure, because a lot of people are not able to separate those things, and they feel
Yeah.
that, okay, well, they are Christian, well, I shouldn't have anything to do with that person because they don't believe in the thing I believe in and so forth, which
Yes.
I have a problem with actually.
Yes.
So I'm
You,
happy to know that you're able to separate those two, and which is a beautiful thing. Yeah,
and
go ahead.
I'm glad you say that because you know what, Narayan, I would love to. There is a pundit here I like, and I would love for him. I know he wants to build a mandir, and I hope that someday that I could help generate some money for him to Pandit Yogeshwar. I hope that I could help him to build his church one day, even if it's $1,000 I could raise to help. You know what I mean? And it is true. I respect everybody and every religion. I respect everyone for who they are, based on who they are, their qualities, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely, absolutely amazing. That's great, good stuff.
Yeah.
So what I'll do now, I want to be respectful of your time. Usually we go up until 8, but I
Yes.
want to be mindful that
Yes.
we will let you go a little bit early. But
Thank
take the
you.
opportunity to tell people about your show for tomorrow, remind them of the time and so forth, so they can tune in tomorrow on your show so we can hammer out some important pieces that's happening right now.
That's right. Tune in tomorrow. As you guys know, that there's so much going on in Guyana, the death, people killing each other, husband killing wife, girlfriend, and the death of this young girl. So I thought I wrote Narine, and I have to tell you, Narine, thank you so much for always accommodating me when we have important topics to discuss. That really makes a difference. So tomorrow, tune in to us. I think it's 5 or 6 o'clock. We said
So we agreed on 6.
6,
6, let's
and
do it 6.
yes, 6 o'clock.
If that works for you. Yes,
Yeah,
6, I
it's
think.
good. Yeah, it's good. And
Okay.
so 6 o'clock. And so we'll talk about how do we move on as a nation, as a
Mhm.
friend, as a community. We could talk a little bit about mental illness. We could talk about a little bit about, and not no extensive stuff,
Mhm.
but what could happen to people if they really take on all these issues that's going on, what it could lead to, and how you could help yourself. So, as you know, Narine Dat is a doctor. He's a social worker. He has a wealth of knowledge in all of these things. Of course, as a psych nurse, I will try to. One of the things that I try to do with Narine is to bring out the answers from him, and we have been doing collaborations for quite some time now, and we people like that, and so I am grateful for that, and we will continue to collaborate where we could help our community here in New York and in your neck of the woods in Canada. Guyana too.
There you go. That's awesome. So that's specifically to show. Any last minute thing you want to say overall before we wrap it up?
So I want to take this opportunity to say, Narine, thank you so much for having me on your show today. I'm on the other side of the table. Thank you very much. And to all my friends who's watching, thank you very much for all of you who support me in the work that I do, helping the poor, the underserved. I want to say thank you very much and God bless all of you. And let's continue to make a difference in the world that we live in. And let's not think about how we could get praise and all these things in this world. Let us look to God for his way of saying thank you to us. And Narayan, thank you very much for considering me for one of your prestigious award in Canada.
Yeah, the Activision Award. And the reason why we call it the Activision Award is because we give it to people who have always been active, right?
Thank you.
You fit right into that category. There's no denying about that. So, my dear fellow listeners and viewers, as we are officially approaching the end of tonight's program, I would like to take this opportunity to thank you for tuning in to the Dr. Narine Dat Show. On behalf of myself and our very special guest here tonight, Ken Rampersaud, both of us would like to join together and wish you a great today and even a better tomorrow. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you very much. All right. Have a great night, everyone.